Are you ready to find out that sweet spot of running multiple businesses and having a life? This is season 3 of the 𝐲𝐤𝐬 podcast, where right now we are focused on interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs who run more than one business and diving into their stories, their life, their struggles on how they're able to scale themselves through multiple businesses. In season 1, we've talked about how to scale yourself through entrepreneurship. Season 2, we talked about how to scale yourself through being a digital nomad working anywhere in the world. And right now, I'm excited to have you guys dive in and learn more stories from entrepreneurs who've been doing this for a while and how they've constantly been able to pull themselves up as they grow their business. So if you're ready to ditch the grind, let's go ahead and scale you. Today's guest is a business coach, consultant, trainer, and speaker known for helping businesses grow, impact, and profit online. With a heart-driven, no-nonsense approach, he inspires and educates others on what it really takes to get to that next level. After a near-fatal car accident at the age of 26, he turned his life around by diving into self-improvement, guided by key resources like the Top 5 Regrets of Dying by Bonnie Ware and a TED Talk by Tony Robbins. Now he leads a global team of 21 and nearing 10,000 hours of speaking, coaching, and training, all while empowering others to design lives of success and fulfillment. He is a CEO, founder, and co-host of Next Level University. He's got into the global top 100 podcasts. He has more than 2,000 episodes out there and has been to 175 countries and counting. Okay, guys, so please help me welcome our guest today, Alan. Hey, Alan.
Leanne, what's happening? Hello, hello, hello. And the first thing that I always open with, seriously, is thank you. Gratitude. I will not waste a second of anyone. What'd you say?
Always good place to start.
Yes. Well, I think about podcasts I started listening to 9 years ago, and they helped me reconstruct my life, and we can get into that a little bit. But ultimately, anything that you're listening to, anyone out there watching or listening, what you're paying attention to is very much dictating a lot of your future. So I don't take it lightly. I won't waste a second of anyone's time. And thank you so much for having me. Seriously. Thank you.
We're very, very happy to have you. So to start us off, actually go back to that of like, who was Alan kind of your before, and a little bit of, then we'll skip through, we'll go through for the middle parts for sure, but then skipping through what your day-to-day now looks like who was the before and after, and we'll go through the in-between later. So yeah, go ahead and tell us.
Okay, so there's 3 sort of main parts of my story, and the first thing I want everyone to understand is, you hear podcasters tell their story, and I did not understand any of this at the time. This is something that I've, in reflection, I started doing therapy in my 30s, so I started sort of re-watching the movie of my own life over and over and over again. Some of it was great, some of it definitely not. But the 3 main sort of parts of my story that really shaped me, I'll try to give you the brief version, is, so when I was 2 years old, my birth father passed away in a car when he was 28. 1991, I had a older sister that was 6. I was 2.5. My mom was 31, stay-at-home mom. A stepfather came into my life when I was 3, and he was in my life from 3 to 14. I playfully refer to that part of my life as boats and BS. And the reason why is because this is during the .com bubble in the US. So there was a lot of abundance in Massachusetts. So I'm in New England. Small town, small-minded town, but in the US during the .com bubble, the US is the largest economy by a pretty significant margin. And during the .com era, it was wild expansion. And so kind of everybody had money back then. And so we had a yacht, we had motorcycles, snowmobiles. We were friends with people. Everybody seemed to have money. It was the whole thing. And my stepmom and stepdad didn't get along, and that's a polite way to put it. Stepdad left at 14, took 95% of the income with him. I'm 36 now. To this day, I've never seen him or any of the extended family members. Same year, sister moves out with her older boyfriend. Same year, my mom gets in a fight with my Aunt Sandy, her sister, and we get ostracized from her side of the family. So to this day, I've only ever seen 2 human beings from her side.
Wow.
And we didn't really associate much with the McCorkles anymore, my birth father, John McCorkle, because we were kind of being the Lazaroses. Lazarus is my stepfather's last name, Steve Lazarus. And so at 14, I kind of, and again, I didn't know this at the time, But at 14, I kind of became sort of the man of the house. And I looked into the future and I saw, no dad, no generational wealth, not enough income. How are we going to keep the house in the family? So my stepfather got the apartment building and the yacht. We got the house and the dog. And I went from boats and ski trips to I get free lunch at school now because our income is so low. I shop at Salvation Army. And again, we weren't going to starve by any means, but I wanted to get into college. And the college I wanted to go to was called WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I actually spoke there last week. And it's kind of like a mini MIT. It's an engineering college. And it was $50,000 per year. And this was back then. So I went from I hope I get in to even if I get in, I don't know if I can go. And then I had two trauma responses. There's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawn is sort of become a social coward and you appease, and you become a chameleon and you try to fit in everywhere and I think that was really to try to hold on to my friends and family after all that abandonment. Again, none of this was conscious at the time. But behind the scenes when no one was around, it was aim higher, work harder, get smarter. It was fight. It was just, I became this sort of super achiever guy. Got straight A's through all of high school, got into college, got all the scholarships and financial aid I could, got into WPI, got my computer engineering degree, got my master's in business. And then I went from going a broke high school and college student to winning in corporate. And so I got my bachelor's in 2012, master's in 2013. And this is when the economy was coming back over after 2008. And tech companies were just winning in a big way. And I just kind of rode that wave. So I went from 65 to 85, 85 to 105, 105 to 125. I eventually landed at 180 a year. And I'm used to being broke. So I don't have a kid. I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage. I bought a 2004 Volkswagen Passat for $5,000 cash. My rent is $500 a month. I live with my girlfriend Courtney on a lake. I'm in my mid 20s and I'm a global 1% earner. And I'm used to being broke, so I don't need much. So I end up paying off $84,000 worth of debt in a college year, in a single year, college debt. And then I put $150,000 in a Vanguard account that I accumulated with tech companies. And I was off to the races. Now, this is when I got in my car accident. So this is 2015. I'm 26. I'm 36 now, by the way, even though I look 12. Really helps my business career. No, but so that was 10 years ago. And I head-on collision, my fault. And I'm with my little cousin, one of the two people that came back from my mom's side. Crossed the double yellows, head-on collision, pretty bad, lift-kitted pickup truck. And luckily I was in the Volkswagen Passat, so no one was hurt. We were definitely rattled. This was not a fender bender, but the airbags deployed. He hurt his knee on the airbag. I hurt my face in the airbag. So physically we were okay, and so was the other driver. My fault. I was responsible. I was supposed to yield. I didn't. Dark winter night. The snowbanks were covering the yield sign, three-way intersection. But this was my sort of quarter life crisis is what I call it, because my birth father died in a car when he was 28. So I'm 26 at the time, 10 years ago, and this is the second chance my dad never got. And so a lot of people have heard that quote, some people have a job, some people have a career, some people have a calling. This is when I found my calling. And that was 10 years ago. I started a little company called Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school, but desperately need to know. And I wanted to bring personal development, personal growth, self-improvement to the masses. And that was when I found my mission. And that was a terrible tagline when your goal is to get speeches at high schools and colleges. But anyway, so that was 10 years ago. And now we have Next Level University, and we have 175 countries that we're heard in, and we have 2,000 episodes now. And it's Next Level You, pun intended. It's self-improvement in your pocket, every day. We do an episode every day. And we have an 18-person team now. And so it's been a wild journey. I told you before we hit record that I'm overwhelmed. We have an event coming up, but overwhelmed in the best way, because everything I'm experiencing right now at one point was really a dream 10 years ago after that car accident.
Got it. Well, first thing that I wanted to say was thank you for being so open about it. And it's always interesting to talk to someone who's also been to therapy, because it's easy to recognize the exercise we all start with, which is basically going through the timeline of our life. So then I also do the same thing, where when people ask me about my background, I also go through my ages, because that was the format that my therapist gave me. So I recognize that. And the second thing I wanted to point out, and wanted to joke a little bit, of like, drop your skincare routine. You don't look like 36 at all. But like, I guess that comes from, I'm guessing, kind of having that drive, that vision, because I've seen a lot of people where at that kind of stage in life, especially if you've been doing it for 10 years, that you lose a little bit of that spark. And it sounds like, and I love, for those who are watching this, I saw how you could have expanded when you were starting to talk about your calling. Nice. And for a lot of people, they start losing that. They start like not seeing that at all. They're just kind of grinding through the day. And I love that you still have that spirit, that power of like, no, this is what I want to do in life. You just talked about like your dream school. You just talked there like last week, and that was the goal when you started your company. So you're really living what you're teaching, what you're talking about, and I love seeing that. That's kind of my I love seeing people in that zone, basically, especially when they've gone through essentially what you've gone through as well, of just kind of pushing and grinding through life. So first of all, I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're able to share your story. So as you have those two businesses, tell me about like how it kind of morphed from one to the other. Like, was it basically your LLC? Of course, you started that first. How did that kind of morph into the other business that you also have? Yeah, basically, what was kind of the egg or chicken, basically, of how that all came out about?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, Alan Lazaros LLC was the very first company. Well, it was technically my second, because I started a little tech company called Campus Libre back in 2012 with my roommates in college, but that was more of a career than a calling. Yeah. One of those sort of, yeah, it was fun, but it was not the calling. It was more career. The calling started 10 years ago, Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. And I started a podcast called Conversations Change Lives. And the idea was be a fly on the wall for great conversations, because you're going to learn so much from all these different people, engineers, nurses, whoever it is. Because I think a lot of kids, students, they want to be an engineer, they want to be a nurse, but they don't actually know what the day-to-day looks like. They don't know beneath the iceberg. Right. And a lot of times, and for me, I was an engineer, computer engineer. And then I got behind a desk for a company called 𝐲𝐸𝐶 Safety Products. And I was behind a desk designing circuits in a dark room going, okay, I think I might have made a mistake here. And then I went back for my master's in business, which is more about people and that kind of thing. But I didn't like the fact that a lot of us are choosing a career from such a young age, that going in blind. Right, you choose a major in college, and very few people stick with their major and that kind of thing. So I wanted to hopefully educate people. So Conversations Change Lives. My first guest was Kevin Palmieri. He was a foreman at the time for a company, a weatherization company, and he had done very well for himself. He was a 6-figure earner, and he was my first guest. He's now my business partner, and this is 8 years later. Yeah, 8 years later, he's my business partner. So he had a podcast at the time called Hyperconscious Podcast. Change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. It's all about deep conversations, self-awareness, all that kind of stuff. And so I was his first guest. He was my first guest. And then we teamed up and we had the worst named podcast of all time, which is the Hyperconscious Podcast meets Conversations Change Lives podcast.
Oh my God, that's so long.
Brutal. So we went all in on the Hyperconscious Podcast. And then somewhere around, 500 or 600 episodes, we rebranded to what's now known as Next Level University. Health, wealth, life, and love, personal development. But the other business that you're referring to is the Conscious Couples Podcast. So I have that with my beautiful girlfriend and future wife, Emilia. So I met her 5 years ago. This is probably 3 years into my podcasting journey, 3 or 4 years into it. And I met her and we fell madly in love. And we started a podcast called the Conscious Couples Podcast, which is really just a podcast about how do you take what the autopilots that we're all on when it comes to the honeymoon phase and the power struggle phase and the commitment phase, and how do we flourish in our intimate relationship? And so we've been doing that. We're at episode 164 this week. 164. We do one a week. NLU, Next Level U, is one every day. So that's a lot more work. But Ultimately, the NLU is how to be the best version of yourself. Conscious Couples is how do you be the best version of yourself and succeed and flourish in your intimate relationship. Humility, courage, vulnerability, effective communication, trust, John Gottman, bid system, all this stuff. And we do events every single month for both NLU and Conscious Couples. And so I know that the theme for your podcast in this season is how do you not burn to the ground while sustaining and growing two companies or multiple companies simultaneously. And it really is difficult. So I'm happy to dive in. But that was 4 years ago. We've been coaching couples for 4 years now. It's been pretty cool. And yeah, we've coached hundreds of couples at this point. So, and I've learned more from that than maybe anything else I've ever done, because I'm an engineer. I didn't understand the relationships as much as I understood the economy and success and that kind of thing.
That's interesting, because like I love seeing a little bit of the pattern there where you do find these partnerships that basically build on to become your business. And I don't hear that I think you're the 10th person that we've interviewed so far on the season, and we haven't really gotten a lot of stories where they found like this really good business partner, collab, started working together. My own co-founder for 𝐿𝐸, I had a meeting with him yesterday, and I was telling him, like, you know what, in 2 months I would have been working with you guys for 11 years, because I started working with him when I was 18. I'm now 29. So like long term, right? And with him, like the story is that I was a freelancer. I was working for his business for a while, shot up in a startup company, and then started running it. And then when I wanted to start my own business, he was like, "Don't leave, just co-found it with me." And I'm like, "Okay." So then 5 years later, my business is still here, and he's basically very much my acting consultant for a lot of things. So I love that part of your story, that you've found these collaborations and relationships with people, and you've been helping a lot of people as well, like their own, not just relationships with themselves, but their relationship with other people. So I love that. I saw that, like, oh, okay, this is kind of his pattern in life of like what he's doing. So that's powerful. So yeah, walk us through those kind of struggles that a lot of people know that happens, but I love hearing kind of stories from it, especially as you said, like right now you're kind of going through a little bit of that overwhelm, but it's the chosen overwhelm. It's the one that we like. So tell us more about that. Like, how has it been kind of both running kind of two major podcasts basically in your life, and two major businesses in your life, and how you're able to, I guess one thing that people would be very interested to hear about is like how you also balance that out with your actual personal life. It's we hear a lot of couples who start businesses basically, and we know a little bit of behind the scenes, but I'd love to know your behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. And first of all, congrats on the 11-year sort of relationship there in business. It's rare to work really closely with someone for that long without burning the relationship down or the business down. I tell Emilia this too. I say we are really something with this, because the divorce rate in my country is very, very high. And the amount of businesses that succeed in any 10-year period is very low. So the percentage we're stacking probabilities here. The chances of us succeeding at both is very small, and we got this for sure. I know we can do it, but it's really something. And what you mentioned there about the two different businesses, I've always thought to myself, I've seen people be very successful or fulfilled. Very rarely do those two come hand in hand. So I have a lot of mentors in my sort of 20s, and many of them are multimillionaires, CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies. One of them is the CEO of a billion-dollar robotics company. And what you learn through that experience of osmosis is, okay, so you are very successful in one area, but you're divorced and you're unhealthy and you're 31 pounds overweight and all this stuff. And I'm not trying to be unkind, but you realize you don't want that. Yeah. And again, everything comes really easy to so everyone out there watching or listening, there's something that comes really easy to you. Either success comes pretty easy to you, or relationships comes really easy to you. Very rarely are those two simultaneous. So for me, two guesses which came easy to me. Success and achievement always felt natural to me.
Yeah.
Relationships and people. I'm a computer engineer who's hyper rational, and I'm a math thinker. So Kev playfully refers to me as a cyborg. And I never understood people that well. I struggled to get along. So I had to kind of chameleon and dim my light and try to make it work and all that stuff. And so I was sort of this social coward. So that's why I have both businesses. Is one of them helps me with relationships and learning how people operate and how people work and how the ego works and how to overcome that. And the other one is success principles and personal development and growth. And I think that very few people are good at both. Yeah. It's very hard to be good at both. And so to answer your question regarding the behind the scenes of the struggles, I think that's the ultimate struggle is how do I make sure I have a magnificent, intimate relationship? And I tell Emilia this all the time. She has a business as well. So we run 3 businesses between the 2 of us.
Wow.
Yeah. And so she works from home. She's working. She might be on a podcast right now. But one of the benefits that we have is we're both entrepreneurs. We're both entrepreneurial. And she understands. Like I've been working till 9 o'clock at night every night. And in the past, when I was with partners that weren't entrepreneurs, they didn't understand. They didn't understand like, why do you work so much? You know? Have you ever met someone who built their own business who didn't work consistently? Despite the 4-hour work. Yeah. But before, well, what do you mean you work for yourself? Can't you take a day off? It's like, listen, I don't work for myself. I have 105 podcasters and business owners that are clients, and I work for the clients. No one works for themselves, right? So I'm responsible for the company. But anyways, so ultimately either success comes really easy or relationships. And I think that instead of sort of work-life balance, I've tried to integrate. So Emilia and I were going away this weekend to the lake, and it's in Mass, beautiful place. But I told her I have an event April 5th. Like I'm going to be working the whole weekend, right? And so I break my days into thirds. My first third is for me. My second third is for service. That's what I'm doing right now: coaching, training, podcasting. My third is for fitness, food, and family. And we go to the gym together. And I told her too, we're also preparing to get married. You know, we live together. We've been living together for 3 years. And we're preparing to have children as well. And I'm trying to grind now so that I can be more present as a father. And we're trying to do this thing right, because I didn't have a father growing up. Obviously, I have my stepdad, but him and I didn't get along. So a little background in terms of the struggles. On social media, all of us are sharing parts of our life that look great. And that's okay. Yeah, of course. It's all curated. And that's what marketing and branding and sales is. Behind the scenes, it is always worse than what you show on the surface. Always. And by worse, I don't mean anything's wrong with it. I just mean it's sacrifice, it's struggle, it's suffering. It's very, very challenging. I mean, my voice, you've heard me sort of clear my throat 1,000 times so far in this episode. Unless your editors edit that out. But that's because I've been working, you know, I'm averaging right now 53 per week coaching sessions, training sessions, and podcasts. Wow. And that's the best I've ever done. And that's actually a dream come true. And that's actually necessary for us to build the business that we want to build and the brand we want to build. And so I think number one is understand that you don't want to compare your real life to someone else's highlight reel. And I really think it's important to understand that if you are going to build a brand and a business, like, and I'm just going to say this, it is going to be atrociously difficult, bad, really bad. I have an 18-person team, and payroll is insane. And it looks really great from the surface, and it is great. It's meaningful work. I wouldn't do it any other way. Don't get me wrong. However, if you feel even a little bit like you're not meant to be an entrepreneur, do not do it.
Yeah.
Do not do it. It is the corporate. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm telling you, my business partner, Kev, he'll be the first to tell you, like, I was not meant to be an entrepreneur. This is horrible. And he's grateful to have gotten where he is, but he said, I've lost pieces of me. I'll never get back. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, we unintentionally make it look easy. And then we try to tell people, like, listen, no. There is no 4-hour work week. There is no, lean into ease. There is none of that. Like, at the end of the day, you have a business and a brand, and in the beginning, no one knows you, and you have to be a hunter and a farmer, and you have to learn how to both brand, market, sell. You have to learn how to over deliver consistently. You really can't take many days off, at least not in the beginning. Yeah. And then the problem is something called survival bias, where I'm 8 years in. We got one client this year. I'm not kidding. One client that we've earned more money from one client this year than we made in the entire first 2 years in business.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I told Kev when we had this big one come through, it's a big W. And the company that they were working with before was charging twice as much as we're charging. Okay, so we're doing it for half the price at a higher quality, which, by the way, that's how you win in business. But I told Kev, do not get cocky. I said, dude, this big client has nothing to do with what we did this year. It has everything to do with what we've done for the last 8 years. You cannot ever get cocky in business. The moment you get cocky in business, you start to fail. And so you just got to stay humble. You got to have work ethic. You got to have undying self-belief, especially when things are rough. And so behind the scenes has been really tough to answer that part of your question. Last part is, how do I balance life? I think that a lot of people, so this is the way that I frame it. We have a framework that we teach in our group coaching program. Our 17th group actually just graduated last night. And the framework is a triad. And everyone needs to figure out what their syntax is. So again, I'm an engineer, so forgive me for that, but picture a triangle. Number 1, 2, and 3. The bottom left of the triangle is growth, reaching your potential. Okay. Number 2 is contribution and impact. Number 3 is quality of life. So for me, I'm much more growth oriented than Kevin is. Kevin is my business partner. He cares a lot more about quality of life. Like, he wants a nice car, and he wants nice things and that kind of stuff. I didn't care. I care about growth, impact. Quality of life is third for me. And he jokes. He said, you'll be the most world-class speaker living under a bridge. And he said, most people care about quality of life first, Alan. We cannot help people succeed if we are not perceived as successful. So we got to start having some nicer things here. So I have a nicer car now. I have a beautiful, home and all this kind of stuff. And because it's not about what you know, sometimes it's about what you can show. And do not rent a Ferrari and pretend you're rich, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you're quality of life driven first, you're going to have a really hard time as an entrepreneur. Because an entrepreneur, their quality of life takes a huge hit early on for a much bigger quality of life later. And the entrepreneurs that are successful are the ones that have made it through the gauntlet of driving a 2001 Toyota for 15 years. And then eventually you see them now in a Porsche. And it's just, it's the wrong mentality. So 1, 2, 3, is it growth, contribution, or is it quality of life? For me, it's 1, 2, 3, growth first, contribution second, quality of life third. If it was quality of life first, there's no possibility we would have gotten here. And that's my answer to your last part of your question, which is, how do you incorporate your life into this? The truth is, from most people's standards, I probably don't. I mean, I've worked every day for the last 10 years. Sometimes it's 1 hour, sometimes it's 18 hours. But I haven't taken a full day off in 10 years. And I just want to be candid about that, because I know that it's impossible to build certain things without that level of work ethic. And I just want to be as honest as I can.
No, it's great, because you're kind of walking people a lot through that, breaking that myth of like the 4-hour work week, which I use a lot, mostly because I do run an executive assistant outsourcing business. But then it is that reality of like, even when you're freed up just a little bit, then your brain kind of starts looking for other things to do. That's kind of a natural thing as an entrepreneur. And I love that you said where you weren't naturally an entrepreneur, but like you've kind of, choose your hard. You've chosen this kind of hard rather than the other kind of hard that you did go through, that you did, quote unquote, be successful in through everyone's eyes, but you knew that there was something else. There was something bigger that you wanted to do and create, which is very, very powerful.
If you don't mind me sharing, I do think that I was a naturally born entrepreneur, but didn't know it. Kevin definitely was not. Kevin definitely was not my business partner. And he's actually the reason why I understand this, because people with undying self-belief, they don't know that they have it. So I was the guy who, so if I were to take you through my childhood, that work harder, aim higher, get smarter thing, that's not the trauma response of most people.
Yeah.
Adversity is your advantage only if you have tons of self-belief, and that's unconscious. I didn't know that I did. Kevin was the one who helped me understand, like, dude, that's not how it works for everybody. Yeah. And so, because every time we were failing, he would like really struggle, and I'd be totally fine. I'd still be on it. Yeah. And so he is motivated by winning. I'm motivated by losing. And if you're motivated by winning, you're going to have a hard time in the early years.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for that. distinction as well, because I remember when you said that, I was thinking that it was between you and Kevin on the not being a natural entrepreneur, and now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, you did kind of have that drive, and it's definitely not a natural response to keep going. And funny enough, like for if losing is your motivation, mine is getting underestimated, which is funny to say, but like anytime that happens, I'm like, no, this is, I'm gonna prove you, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
That's an entrepreneur. That's an entrepreneur. Being underestimated shuts other people down. It ignites us. The more hate I get, the more motivated I become. That's an entrepreneur. Kevin's not like that at all. He gets shut down by all that. Yeah, so he's a great number. He says this, I'm a great number 2. I am not a number 1. And he actually has the humility to admit that, which very few people do. Yeah. True.
It sounds like you guys balance each other out, which is great. Because like we were talking about partnerships, like for my co-founder, he sees things 10 steps ahead, and for me, like I love the grind, like that's my favorite part. So like the way that we balance out, like as he's going further, I'm making sure I'm building the systems to follow everything else, so that we don't fall. So it sounds like you guys have that good kind of collab as well. It's like you have that strong. I always think of it like you're fighting the person who fits your gears, like the gaps basically that you have. You found someone
100%.
who can fill it, so you guys can keep going. So that's powerful. So then it brings me to my favorite question on the podcast, which is, as AI, as DNA, whatever science has gotten better and better, if we could duplicate you, if we could duplicate Alan 10 times, we have an army of 300 Alans in the world, what kind of impact or movement, or how do you want to change the world if you had kind of that much power?
Yeah, it would be exactly that original statement of what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. I'm all for education. I did the whole kindergarten, preschool, kindergarten, middle school, high school,
the whole shebang,
college, shebang, corporate. And I did that whole thing. And I, trust me, especially for math and science, I actually think they do a really good job. However, vulnerability, courage, humility, character, personal development, self-improvement, personal growth, mental health, therapy. I mean, it is wild. I didn't take my first finance course till graduate school.
Wow.
We use money every day. We eat food every day. We exercise every day. We don't learn anything in school about these things. If I had 300 of me, I would do exactly what I'm doing right now, but much better. I would try to bring personal development to the world. And I hope that, so one of the reasons COVID was so scary is because it was growing exponentially. It was 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and it just really quick. Yeah, compounding. That I hope that same thing happens with personal development. That's the mission that I'm on. That's my calling. And ultimately, I have it written here, to reach my own unique potential and help others do the same through personal development, through if you improve yourself, your life will improve. When I grew up in a very tough environment, I couldn't change. It wasn't my fault my dad died. It wasn't my fault my stepdad left, but it is my responsibility to make a life out of that. And I think that personal responsibility is where it all starts. So yeah, that's what I would do, is I would try to spread personal development, and I would have very few friends, unfortunately, because that's not a fun thing to talk about at a barbecue.
Yeah.
Back 10 years ago, I had so many high school friends and college friends and corporate friends, and I partied and I had fun. And ever since I got obsessed with personal development, I just feel like I'm not as likable or relatable. But that's okay, because that's what it takes to stand for something. And that's what I'm here to do. And so thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And that's the mission that I'm on. And I hope that that's what we've done here today, is for anyone out there watching or listening, your bigger, better, brighter future is on the other side of your own personal development. And that's physical, that's mental, that's emotional, that's spiritual. And it really is hidden in the self-education that you're not going to learn in school.
Yeah. It's in the outside, basically, of those boundaries. Well, thank you so much for sharing a lot of your story. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and talking about kind of that, that behind the scenes that usually you don't talk about, but it is very important to talk about, especially if someone's on the edge of do I want to be an entrepreneur or do I want to do this? And especially that balance of kind of both of your, I love what you said earlier of your building relationships and success, basically, that you've kind of combined that of like finding what makes sense to you and kind of aligning that with your own vision, which is sounds like compounding a better world. So how can people find you? How can people reach out to you? How can people work with you if they want to, or even just say hi after watching or listening to this podcast, Alan?
Yeah, first of all, again, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. And thank you for doing what you do in the world. Like I said, you're definitely spreading this kind of thing, and I appreciate that so deeply. When I was a kid, none of this existed.
Would have been helpful.
It would have been extremely helpful. This would have changed. This episode would have changed my life. Honestly, it was not readily available. So if anyone wants to reach out, I'm on Instagram. That's probably the best place, is Instagram for sure, at @Lazaros88, ALAZAROS88. You can DM me. I actually, at the speech last week, I had a slide that said, DM me saying, hey, I saw you at WPI, and we just sparked up a conversation. Like probably 15 of them did reach out. So please reach out. We'll see. Let's connect. And there's nextleveluniverse.com, spelled just like it sounds, nextleveluniverse.com. And the podcast is Next Level University, which is 1% improvement in your pocket from anywhere on the planet, completely free. Next level you, not next level me, not next level Leanne, but next level version of you, your own uniqueness. And yeah, you're not trying to be anyone else. You're trying to be the best version of yourself. And we're sort of the male role models we never had. And I think it's really special. So you can check that out as well. We're on YouTube and all the stuff.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Alan. I definitely loved hearing about his stories, his struggles, and basically his life and business as he has built it himself. And that is essentially what we do here at 𝐲𝐞𝐬 Podcast, is highlighting a lot of those stories for you guys to be able to see a little bit of that behind the scenes, the peek behind the curtain, behind the LinkedIn posts of how it is to actually have a business and how to scale yourself. And of course, if you guys like this episode, make sure to hit the like button if you guys are watching this on YouTube, or interact with us in any other way, depending on where you are listening to this episode. And of course, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And remember that small steps matters. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.